specialist in the world of pitching that so many artists struggle to get right. Why is a good pitch so important?
I think a good pitch is very important just because it is one of the first touch points that someone who might never have heard of you is going to have of you. It's similar to like the first time someone sees one of your TikToks or Reels or YouTube Shorts or something or music video, that's your first touch and you want it to be a good one. And ideally, a good pitch would be something that can convey all the information you're going for in a very short, concise space.
What are your top tips on like cutting it down and just making sure that the key info stands out?
I think one of the important pieces is like about the track. What's it about? Where was your headspace when you were writing the song? But I think that in terms of getting across the information and being concise, it's just what are you doing to tell the world about the song, about the album, about the EP, whatever it might be. And so I think that when you create a pitch, you have to keep in mind what are the marketing drivers? Is there a music video? Will there be a lyric video? Is it just a visualizer? Are you playing shows? Is there a release party? Will you be on tour? Are you opening for Taylor Swift or whoever
That'd be
else?
good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great. I'd be so happy if I could open for Taylor Swift. Things like that. Do you have a PR campaign?
Yeah.
Is anything going to be in a publication, online or in print? Is there money allocated for ad spend if you're going to be doing that across different platforms? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all so helpful. Like what needs to be included. What do you think people shouldn't put in there?
The short answer is they shouldn't put fluff. And so I think like things to avoid are just to like over talk yourself and be real with what you're actually doing. If you are going to be allocating $5,000, don't say we're going to be allocating at least $5,000 or whatever else it
Yeah,
might be,
yeah,
or like being hyperbolic with being on tour. If you are going to be touring for a week, don't call it a North American tour. People can easily look up, oh, they're going to be in DC and then New York and then Boston. That's not North American. That's like
yeah.
maybe Northeast. Obviously, talk yourself up. Do all
Yeah.
that. That's great. But to go overboard, I think people can see through that these days.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Do you pitch to specific playlists in different ways?
The short answer is no. I think that every DSP, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or Apple or Tidal or Deezer or Pandora, etc., they know who their audience is. They know who the listener is. They know who the consumer is. They know what people will define as like indie pop versus chill hop versus whatever. So I think nine times out of 10, as much as the artist or the person pitching the music might think that they know exactly what playlist would be perfect for this, sometimes we don't. And a lot of times we don't. There are directives from the top down at the different DSPs of like, what is the thing that we want to focus on this month or this quarter? And maybe where I think something would be really good for a pop playlist, someone's perceiving it more as the alternative or indie. And it's just like, as a company that is pitching music, it's important for us to try and keep the artists and the releases in the lane that they want to be perceived as. And that's a very important thing to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, I can't be the one who complains about, oh, we didn't get on indie pop, we got on pop rising.
Do you have any tips that can get a pitch noticed by New Music Friday in particular?
I always say Spotify for Artists is the thing that you need to do. And the pitch there is going to be very important in making sure that the mood and tag the genre, tag the instruments there, and it doesn't have lyrics, all that stuff. All that stuff plays into how Spotify's system will categorize your song, and editors do look at it. So one, having that is very important, but to get noticed on a pitch, it's a lot of the same, like talking about marketing drivers and not having too much fluff. You only have so many characters. You basically have two paragraphs maybe worth of time to get the attention on a pitch. But in terms of New Music Friday specifically, it's always a toss-up. You don't know if Beyonce is going to be dropping a
Yeah.
surprise album. You don't know if your favorite band is going to be dropping a surprise album, but the DSPs do know. And there's only a finite amount of spots on that list. So one of the examples that I kind of allude to is sometimes people will choose to release during a holiday week, whether it's Thanksgiving or a bank holiday in the UK, maybe if they're a UK artist. And maybe that is how they are able to be a bit bigger of a fish in a smaller pond because people are avoiding releasing on those weeks. It's not tried and true, but it is something that
Yeah.
we as a society have kind of noticed that that is a good jumping off point sometimes for like smaller indie artists.
Yeah. Is there an ideal amount of time before your song drops to pitch your song to editorial playlists?
I always say at least 3 weeks, no less than 3 weeks. If you have contacts at the DSPs and they won't get annoyed by you emailing, and you'll be able to pick up on if they, because it's a human. It is a human at the end of the day
Yeah.
that's getting your email. 3 weeks is always good. I personally really like working under the 5 week lead time, so I have some time to do a little bit more research into the artist, what's happening around them. It gives a little bit more time to get the final cut of a music video, or maybe there's a new master file. Maybe we're waiting for an instrumental. Maybe we're going to push back the release because the track will be placed in the next Love Island finale or something. So the more lead time is always the best. I think from uploading and ingesting your release, you should always have as much time as possible because you can always move that back depending on what marketing drivers are happening.
I like 5 weeks. That's good. Some artists do it like 1 week, and you're just like, no, guys. There's no time.
No.
There's no time there to be noticed, to be picked up.
Yeah, and truthfully, a lot of these editors, these curators, they are planning things months in advance sometimes because they know what's happening from the big three majors. They know what's happening with BMG. They know what's happening
Yeah.
with like the bigger indies. That's all discussed weeks in advance. It's easy to fall into the trap of, oh, it's this week because something's going viral, but sometimes it's better to take a step back and make the right choices. At Amuse, we like to say we like to create movements out of moments. And so it's important for us to like be able to capitalize on something actually happening and being able to properly tell the story and the narrative around an artist and the
Mm.
song. But never only a week, because there is somebody on the other end of the line that will be getting that, being like, I can't do anything with this, but I really like the song. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah,
there will be somebody.
yeah. What else can artists do off their own back to improve their pitch or just improve
Mhm.
their position in order to get those playlists, get those placements?
I mean, this might be counterintuitive to the conversation we're having, but I think that playlists are really getting a editorial placement is a really cool checkbox. And there's no doubt about it. It does move the needle a little bit, but at the same time, like being able to hone your craft, being able to understand who your fans are, how to engage with those people, they will be the ones who will be going to your shows, buying a ticket, buying merch, and helping you sustain a career. All of those things, I think, snowball into the conversation around editorial pitching, where maybe a year ago you hadn't played any shows, you haven't made a DIY music video, which is also something really good. I think it's really easy these days to take out your Android or iPhone with your really nice big camera
Yeah,
and go out into a field and do something that like is just purely aesthetic, purely vibe, purely silly, purely whatever. And that is just another content piece, so to speak, that you can always cut down, use to promote your
yeah,
release. So I think that to beef up, bump up
yeah,
your pitch, it is a lot of what do I do outside of making the music. Obviously, honing in on your craft is an important thing. Playing shows and being able to be in the room with people is an important thing. Commenting back on people who are liking your post. So outside of that, I think it's just like how you want to be perceived in the world, and making sure that like you tell the full story around you. Because if not today, maybe in a year, 2 years, you'll see some movement in terms of editorial. Maybe you'll get fresh finds, maybe you'll get New Music
yeah,
Friday, maybe, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really important to focus on the people who are going to be in your corner from day one or day 20, all the way to when you retire, in theory.
yeah, definitely. Do you think that communicating and engaging with fans is at the moment the biggest thing that can propel an artist?
I think it's always been. I'm one of those super feely people in the industry. There's a lot of us, and there's some of us who aren't. But I'm someone who grew up with pop punk and Warp Tour and that idea and that feeling of community, whether you're a Swiftie, whether you're a pop punk kid or emo or whoever else. I think being able to curate the community around you is going to be a very important way of how you engage with your fans, because those are also going back to the conversation about like the first touch point. Sometimes like a bad fan will make someone not want to listen to the artist. And so I think it's really important when you engage with your fan base, even your friends, your day one friends who become fans and actually listen to your music. I think it's important to keep that in mind when you tell your story and make sure that like everyone feels like they are valued and not just like another stream number or stream ratio or engagement ratio. I think that it's really easy for us to forget about that when we are looking at the metrics, so to speak, across socials and different platforms. But in terms of long-term career and longevity, building your fan base and having a strong base to jump off of when there is a moment, let's just say, is really important.
Yeah, definitely. For artists who maybe they're doing all the things, but they're still not getting the placements on editorials, what is your main advice to these people?
Editorial playlists are not the only way to grow, is my short answer. I think editorial playlist placement is a really cool thing. It does move the needle. It does get the industry noticing you. At the same time, the industry is not the community. And at the end of the day, the people who will be paying for shows and buying tickets and buying merch and buying your vinyl and everything is not the industry, it's fans. And so, even if you're not checking the boxes, so to speak, within the industry, I think it's really important to create something organic around you with your fan base. And those are the people that are going to champion you to no end. I think a lot of people in the industry took Taylor Swift not seriously at all, and now look at her now.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's one of the perfect examples of that.
crazy.